lot of discussion about the term knowledge society, and of late you have listened that President Kalam also is telling that we are moving towards knowledge society, and a couple of years back the government of India has also established a knowledge commission which is chaired by the Prime Minister. Now these activities gear up to the situation that we move to the knowledge society, but for moving to the knowledge society there are many requirements which are required, and today we will be discussing this thing under this series knowledge society and libraries. That means what role the libraries can play in the knowledge society. Now at the moment we have got an eminent expert in the field, Professor Ismail Abdullahi, and he is the professor in the School of Library and Information Science, North Carolina Central University, USA. So we will be taking his views on this knowledge society and libraries. So welcome Professor Ismaili to this Indira Gandhi National Open University and taking part in the discussion. And we are starting our discussion by asking you just one question. Now we are telling a lot of things about knowledge society and libraries. Now what is really meant by the knowledge society, if you can throw some light on it?
Thank you very much, Professor Ghosh. It's a pleasure to be here at your university and speak also to your students. Now, as you know, knowledge society is an important topic today of discussion, especially at UNESCO and also among libraries. Just to give you a brief description of what knowledge society is all about. Knowledge societies are those societies who make effective use of their knowledge in sharing, accessing, learning, developing, and utilizing throughout their society as a whole. Those societies that really work with knowledge in all aspects of their societal communication.
Now, if that is the thing, that if a society works on the all aspects of knowledge, then what are the requirements by which you call a society as a knowledge society? Because we have listened so many things about agricultural society, industrial society, information society, knowledge society. Now, what are the real requirements by which you call a society a knowledge society?
Now, knowledge society is really different from information societies or other societies that you have. Knowledge societies are based on equal access to education first. So that means everybody from K to 12 should have equal access in education. Then it must be based on freedom of expression, that people are free to express their opinion. Then they must have universal access to information and knowledge. That means they must have equal access to libraries everywhere they live. Then promotion of cultural diversity, including multilingualism, because people are different in culture and they are different in languages. Then they must have access to that language which they are proficient in.
Then what are the characteristics of a knowledge society? Because we are trying to identify that what are the knowledge society, that what are the characteristics by which you call a society as a knowledge society?
Well, characteristics, some of its characteristics are, for example, social. Okay. That means people have to be active socially,
okay,
culturally. They must be active also culturally. They must have access to cultural institutions in order to express themselves.
Okay.
They must be also active in economic, for example, in economic aspects of the country. They must be also active in education, learning. This is a learning society. That's why it is called knowledge societies, because they are always learning.
Now, these are the characteristics we have said about the knowledge society. Now, throughout the world, people are telling about, some are telling we are already in knowledge society, some are telling we are moving towards knowledge society. do you have some example of some nations or some countries who is really in the knowledge society or in the verge of entering this society?
If we take some of the industrialized countries or so-called developed countries, we can mention today, based also on my experience, the Scandinavian countries could be characterized as knowledge societies because those societies have equal access to education, have free access to health care, have also access to variety of cultural as well as library institutions in all sectors of their society. And they use knowledge in all these areas to communicate, to share, and to educate themselves also. So I will say Scandinavian countries probably are the ones that could be considered as knowledge societies.
No, some of the countries like say United States or say Japan or similar other developed countries, do you feel that they are in the knowledge society or not?
Well, as I have said, knowledge societies must have equal access to education and equal access to libraries. That means those libraries have to be provided for all communities, regardless of their geographical or economical, for example, areas. For Japan and the United States, even though they are industrialized countries, knowledge-wise, societies are divided. There are those who have a better access to education. There are those who have a better access to libraries or a better access to economical and other sectors. So in that way, they are still working toward movement into knowledge society.
So do you call it a development of say knowledge divide, something like that?
Yes, to some extent, yes, even though they will be also characterized as information societies because they use a lot of technology to access information, but there are some divides in many ways which in knowledge societies should not exist.
Now, one of the thing is that the norm, that data, then information, and then knowledge. Okay. Now we say that many society are information society, many society are moving toward knowledge society. But basically, if you look at all these things, what is the exact difference between the information society and knowledge society?
Yeah, first, information society is a society in which the creation, distribution, and also manipulation of information is a significant economic and cultural activity, known also as post-industrial society. So information society really is based on media, technology, access of information through media and technology. So here, you don't have all kinds of people who have access to those types of information, only those people who really possess those kinds of technologies. Even if it is television, you must have a cable or some kind of company that you can relate to. But in knowledge societies, even those people who have their own indigenous culture will be given an opportunity to access that culture, or they can access and share their culture as well as access other people's culture without using a medium in many ways. So that is where the differences are between knowledge and information society. Now, to give you an example, UNESCO in the past used to discuss and encourage about information societies, moving into information societies. Now they have changed it. They have found out that information societies really have some kind of divide also because of the media and technology. Okay. But knowledge societies does not provide that, so they are moving into knowledge societies now.
Now, one of the things which we feel that even if you are moving towards knowledge society or you are in the knowledge society, knowledge management, actually that part plays a major role. I mean, you cannot have the society without the managing that thing. So that's why knowledge management comes in. Now, will you throw some light? What are these knowledge management? I mean, what kind of management, how it will be different from information management? Of course, your contention, the difference of information society and knowledge society, if we take that clue and try to find out the difference between information management and knowledge management, is it not?
Yes.
So, what is there in the knowledge management, how it is different? Because in the knowledge there will be tacit knowledge and explicit knowledge also.
Yeah.
So, then how the knowledge management comes in?
Now, knowledge management is mostly, it is a range of practices used by organization to identify, to create, represent, and also to distribute this information that exists within their organization, or knowledge in many ways. Also for reuse those knowledge that exist in the organization, and also to make it aware of other members of the organization, the existence of this knowledge across their organization. Really, when we talk about knowledge management, we are talking about organizational knowledge.
Okay.
In many ways.
Now, in this knowledge management, or in the forthcoming knowledge management society, particular in the context of the developing countries, now what is the role of libraries in that society, or in the, because libraries are also involved in the management of, say, information management of library. Now, in the context of the new society called knowledge society, what will be the role of libraries? Do you feel that there is, visualize that there is any change, or the same kind of thing is there?
I think for libraries in knowledge society, there is even a greater role than they used to play, because libraries for centuries have been providing knowledge, access to knowledge to people. Now, if all kinds of knowledge, be it in healthcare, in culture, in societal, in politics, political, let us say, economic knowledge, are brought into this field, let us say, of making the society a knowledge society by sharing all this kind of knowledge, libraries can play a greater role as mediators of this knowledge to all those who need, to all those who access, and to all those who wants to share also.
Now, suppose if that is the role which libraries have to play in moving towards knowledge society, obviously the role of the professionals also will be different than the role which they played earlier. Now, what kind of skills which may be required for the library and information science professionals to fit into the transition from this society to knowledge society? Is there any specific skills are required for moving towards that, or the earlier skills which are there, that will be sufficient? What are the new skills which are they have to acquire, and we should, as a teacher, we should try to give them?
I think the new skills that they need, instead of being as in the past, just providers of access to information, now they can play a role of also mediating, more mediating, bringing together all this knowledge that comes from all these directions that I have talked about: health, education, economic, and also providing them facilities to access as well as to exchange. So things that needs to be added into their skill is understanding more their societal, in terms of culture, education, economics, and other sectors that the society has, not just providing them through literature or accessing of a database, but how those societies are organized culturally, economically.
Oh, okay, so if you can specifically pinpoint that what are the specific skills which are required. For example, say, and particularly in a society like India, say developing countries, now say IT skills, etc. Now, should the librarian should have all these things in their fold, so that they can be a good partner in the movement towards knowledge society. And another point I would like to know, that other than the librarian information science professionals, who are the other people, other professionals who are involved, because knowledge society is a total overall society. Naturally, there are very many groups of people who are will be active. Now, who are the other peoples? And obviously, library and information professionals will play a major role, but at the same time there may be other people. So, if you can give a total thing, that means who are the people, because one way the society is knowledge society, but to make it, that means to access the knowledge, to make available the knowledge, who are the other people who will be involved in this?
Well, other peoples, as I have said, that can be involved with are, for example, educators. That librarians need to work with educators because they themselves are the ones who provide access to education. Librarians need to work with cultural institutions in the form of accessing culture, not just from the library point of view, but from cultural institutions. They need to work with healthcare institutions also about health issues. As you know, health issues are the most major issues in the developing countries today. How to provide a better access to health care and how to be aware of their health situations, for example. They can play a role in that, in those sectors.
So, that means you are advocating or agreeing that the librarian should move from their traditional role to the newer role for the newer perspective. So, do you feel that the traditional knowledge which the librarians have, it has some impact on the new kind of allies professionals?
Yes, it has a lot of impact because they are also providing access to knowledge to those institutions and to those groups also. And they are also helping those groups' knowledge to be accessed by the society also in that way. So it is an exchange of knowledge between groups and institutions, between people, between individuals. That is where librarians can play a role, where these groups and institutions, even based on individuals, can access and provide knowledge also, share knowledge with others.
No, in that case you mean to say that, but because librarians are basically handling the documented information, etc. Now, what about the other part of the knowledge which are not documented but may be available in many other forms? So, librarians here goes there also to pick up knowledge from those kind of people who are possessing knowledge?
Yes, because today we have various kinds of technologies also that we can use. It is not just like in the past that we can use print materials. We can use various kinds of technology that can help us access, that can help people access those knowledge from, for example, let us say indigenous people. There are multilingual people which their language is not really either written or cannot be accessed for some reasons. They can provide access to those languages by sharing the knowledge those languages contain.
You have listened the overall characteristics, features of the knowledge society, which society you call a society as a knowledge society, how a knowledge society is different from the information society, and what role the libraries can play in the development or moving towards the knowledge society, and also the specific skills which are required to be developed by the library and information science professionals in coping up the demand of the society in general. So, I thank you very much Professor Ismail for being us with the university and sharing your views on the knowledge society. And basically we are library professionals. Naturally we are interested to know how we can play a major role in moving towards knowledge society. So thank you very much Professor Ismail
my pleasure.
for this.